My controversial opinion as a social service agent, as an entrepreneur who runs a coaching practice that supports social service agencies, is this: Black parents in America do not receive enough support on alternative discipline measures for their children. That's my controversial opinion. Now, here's why. I want us to really bring our heart into this as we watch this video. And I want you to think about being a Black parent, being that was raised by another Black family, who was also raised by Black family members, who was also raised by Black family members. So follow the trajectory of the generations back, right? All Black family members who have in this country learned through history that the way to get Black people in line is to beat them. And so when your child is stepping out, as a parent, the thing that you know to do is to beat them. Why? Because Black parents historically were scared that if I don't, they will. Now I'm going to put a name to the they. White Americans. White Americans were going to beat your children if you didn't beat them. They were going to kill your children if you didn't beat them. They were going to incarcerate them and use their body for free slave labor if you didn't beat them. This is the mental state of Black parents in this country, whether we directly say it or not. We forget that all things don't need to be said. We also forget that all things are not apparently known to us. But me, as an educated Black woman, having understood the systematic oppression of this country, I can say it. And I know that there are going to be a host of different opinions that are going to challenge me. But unless you are a Black person growing up in this country, I invite you to have a seat, listen, and learn from the experience rather than be on this mission to correct me. Because even that is a form of mental oppression. We forget that the systems that are created to protect our children, as well intended as they may be, still are not run by Black parents. And so when we do not have Black people at the helm who are bold enough and brave enough, and brave I put an extra emphasis on because it takes bravery to speak out and advocate for systems to acknowledge the impact that slavery has on Black Americans to this day. It takes bravery for people to publicly advocate for and start to shift systematic practices based on the acknowledgement of that current impact. If we don't have that, which we struggle to have to this day in 2023, then how do we expect Black parents in America to be properly represented and then educated on alternative discipline measures? How do we expect these same parents to be educated on alternative discipline measures when our prison systems are flooded with their children? How do we get them to understand it when our foster care systems are flooded with their children? The juvenile justice systems are flooded with their children, when the news is flooded with images of their children. How do we get them to understand that do not beat your kids, because it is psychologically repeating the same oppressive stories and instilling the same oppressive narratives that we so direly need to have undone? How do you get parents to really see the need to implement alternative strategies when the current systems that exist today are so rooted in forceful education without proper time and attention needed, without the proper time and attention that's needed to get people to unlearn the things that they've learned? Systems come in and they say, you did this wrong. You need to do it like this. Don't beat your kids. Okay, don't beat them. Now I'm not beating them, and now my children are not listening. We don't take the time to work with our families to educate them on how to get your children to listen, right? I have come to learn in my own curiosities and in my professional trajectory that there are structures and systems in place that help you to really rework. Let me back up. I've come to learn that there are various behavioral modification strategies out there. But what we are providing, especially in underestimated communities that are notoriously dominated by Black and brown families, we don't have that quality level of services for them. We have a whole bunch of service providers that are saying what not to do. And if you do it, we're going to remove your kid and put them in the next family's home and force them into a whole bunch of service programs that are going to be filled with staff who are constantly on a rotation and never staying still to try to teach them something different. So instead, what we're teaching our children is that no one ever stays with you. And yeah, you're lost somewhere. You're going to get overlooked. So good luck. Black parents are seeing this and they're like, I don't want this to be my kid. I'm so scared. So what we in turn are instilling in Black parents is beat your kids and then teach them to keep it quiet. What happens in this house stays in this house. It's amazing to me how we do not acknowledge the damage that these cycles do. And how if we would slow down and really, really look at how we can rework our systems in a way that allows for families to become educated on what was and what can be, that we would see exponential growth in communities of color, especially in underserved neighborhoods. It's a major reason why, with all of my professional accolades, that I make sure that I stay in communities that are notoriously underestimated, that are notoriously overpopulated and underserviced. It is the reason why I make sure that I speak to the heart of my Black folks in my coaching services, because I want us to know that yes, this happened to you. Yes, this happened to your grandparents, your parents, your great-great-grandparents. No, you are not crazy. And in spite of it all, you still have enough power and resilience within you to change the narrative. I don't want to continue to perpetuate the storylines that systems to this very day continue to perpetuate, which is tell them what not to do, but don't break down the core of how they got there and how even in that place that you are, you have the ability to transition into something new and greater and better for yourself. We tell them, stop, go. Stop, go. We point them to where they need to go, but we don't give them the tools. That whole saying of teach a person how to fish. We forget that teaching doesn't mean you teach them, you show them one time and now it's taught. It means that you have to go in and understand the heart and the mind of the person that you're trying to teach and help them to understand for themselves that there is an alternative that exists and that this alternative works. And I don't mean that there's one alternative, because the beautiful thing about the hearts and the minds of us as human is that once we have other visions in our mind of what hope and possibility looks like, we get to determine how we get there. So instead of telling a parent not to beat your child, if you were to sit down with them and you were to start getting close and saying, hey, where is this coming from? Where did you learn this lesson? And listen to their story. And when you hear things like, well, my mother beat me, instead of saying, well, you don't need to beat your kid anymore, start asking them. And when your mother beat you, what did that tell you? What did you learn from that? I learned that I shouldn't talk back. And how else did that impact you? Well, sometimes I'm scared to speak up for myself, but I know I respect authority. Let's look at that right there. You learn two things at once. And so what was designed to help you learn how to stay out of trouble in one area also shut down your capacity to grow and thrive in another. So what does an alternative look like? Like, I'm making this video and I'm giving you real life questions of conversations that I have with individuals and conversations that I walk staff through learning to have with the families and parents that they're speaking with. And the reason why I do it is because as a Black woman, I love us too much to continue to stay silent for fear of someone coming and trying to shut me down or someone throwing facts at me. Because one thing that numbers and stats and facts can never replace is my lived experience as a Black woman, as a Black daughter, as a Black granddaughter and great-granddaughter in this country of America, where I've heard generational story after generational story of what oppression has done to us. So I make this video as just my chat video because I just spoke off the cuff from the heart. So y'all know I took you in on one area and then I rambled there for a little bit and ran to another area. But the hope is that as you are listening, whether you are a Black parent or a white parent, a professional in the social service space or a professional in the sciences, I don't care. If one person sees this and they decide to pause, think, and allow room for bravery, then this video did its job. In the meantime, if you are interested in partnering with me, the way to find me is to email me at coachd@thekeynsg.com. If this video resonated with you, I love to read comments and I respond to most of them myself, of course. So drop a comment below, share this, bring it up as a discussion piece. And social service agencies, stay tuned because in May, if you are in the New York City area, of course, because that's where I'm based out of, but in May, I have something special coming up for you guys. All right, so stay tuned. In the meantime, never stop growing, folks.